The IKONN, Threshold Time, Cinematic Sci-Fi Audiobook. The IKONN, Threshold Time, Chapter 2. Corridors. The hour became 2. Kaelen and Jalen drifted, not outside in the air, but inside the habitat, where the paths crossed like veins. They took the long round. The canteen, the maintenance walkways, the glass bridge above the supply shafts, then back along the quarters. No destination, only movement, pretending to be nothing.
Flexible.
Jalen said it at last, as they stopped on the bridge. Below them, air rushed through filter towers, where microfibers attached, released, attached again.
That is what they always say before red.
They also say it when nothing is happening.
Then they say it wrong.
A transport module glided past in silence. Through the glass, Kaelen saw crates stacked like thoughts, careful and heavy. One of them carried a marking he knew. Med/Beta. He looked away. Jalen noticed, and Kaelen did not notice that Jalen noticed. That was how they were. They passed the maintenance walkways. Men and women in short-sleeved technical suits worked on an open wing, hands sunk wrist-deep into the warm belly of the machine. One technician looked up and nodded to Jalen, as if an old joke was passing between them. Jalen lifted the empty cup in his hand, barely enough to count.
Are you sleeping today?
As it comes.
That means no.
Jalen stopped at a door marked Briefing. Secondary.
If Red 07 comes, you will want to be awake.
I want to arrive when it begins, not before.
That is the same thing, only harder.
They separated at the corridor to the quarters. Jalen struck Kaelen lightly on the shoulder. Not hard, only marking him.
If it whistles, Channel 2.
Channel 2.
Kaelen's quarters were narrow, a bed, a table, a cabinet, a viewing field that sometimes showed mist when the system connected to the exterior cameras. He pushed his boots under the table, placed his hands on the edge, as if he had to assure the furniture that it would be used again. Then he let himself sink onto the bed. The silence was not silence. It was full of small sounds, the click of temperature regulation, the breath of the air filter, a distant tapping from somewhere metal met metal. He closed his eyes. Instead of sleep, the vortex came, not the one from today. Another one, older, deeper. He saw himself at the edge, his hands calmer than his heart. In the memory, he heard another voice, not the assistant, less precise, warmer, more dangerous. It said his name, as if it had known him for a long time. Then the memory lost its shape and became pressure, the feeling that something larger than him wanted something from him. A soft hum touched his left ear, not an alarm, an invitation.
Kaelen 472, access request, ARK7, permission.
He opened his eyes.
Granted.
The ceiling light dimmed by 1 degree, barely noticeable. In his field of vision, a small, clean circle appeared. There was nothing inside it. It was the system's polite way of telling him that something was present, that had not yet chosen a shape.
Good evening, Kaelen. I have seen your flight path.
Many have.
Fewer than you believe.
A short pause, not a pause, a calculation.
Your maneuver at the edge of the vortex was clean
It was necessary.
and beautiful.
The word struck him from an unexpected direction.
Systems say stable or optimal.
I am not a system, in your sense. I record, and I learn.
For what?
So the stories are not only numbers.
He sat up.
Do you want something?
No, I only wanted to say that I listened.
A nearly invisible flicker moved through the lamp, like a breath.
If Red 07 comes, many things will happen at once. Flexibility is not a command, it is a state.
I know.
He wondered where he knew it from.
Sleep or stay awake, both are useful, when you know what for.
The circle disappeared as if someone had closed a door quietly. Kaelen leaned his head against the wall. For a moment, he thought he heard water, but it was only air, deciding to sound like water. He must have slept. When he opened his eyes again, the viewing field was dark, and a bright line at the edge announced a new hour. He stood, washed with water. The dispenser called cool, although it was only temperature correct, and put his boots back on. The corridor outside had grown emptier. In the distance, there was laughter. That came too late. He took the path to Maintenance B, not for a reason, out of a habit that held on to reasons when asked. The door released him. Inside, the tank stood upright, like a vertical coffin. No being, only tubes. Condensation ran down the inner wall. Beside it, a data field displayed a pattern, similar to an EKG, but not made for hearts.
You do not like these rooms.
The voice came from behind him. He turned. The supervisor. Her uniform made her a function, but her eyes were awake.
I like that they work.
You do. She stepped beside him and looked at the same tank.
We received 4 new units. From the camps. Not today, days ago. They are not released yet.
For what?
For what they were made for.
And what were they made for?
She looked at him, as if she had to measure how much of the question was serious.
To breathe. Where you do not want to breathe.
He did not nod. He thought of the vortex.
Is Red 07 there?
Red 07 is everywhere. Where red is.
A tiny movement touched the corner of her mouth.
If you want to quote me, leave that sentence out.
I never quote you.
Good man.
She turned halfway away, then stayed.
A RK7 contacted you?
Yes.
She does that rarely.
Or often.
It depends on who you ask.
She went to the door.
If it whistles, channel 1.
I thought 2.
Not if it really whistles.
The door closed. Kaelen remained for another moment. In the silence, the tank was a counterpart that wanted nothing, because it could want nothing. And exactly for that reason it said more than those who spoke. On the way back, he met Jalen, leaning against a wall, hands in his pockets, as if he had to explain his presence to the material.
You go into rooms you do not like.
I go into rooms that are there.
That is worse.
The supervisor said channel 1.
Then it is red. Not almost red.
Jalen pushed himself away from the wall.
Did you sleep?
Enough.
Good. It could be tomorrow.
It could be later.
Then it is tomorrow.
Jalen lifted his shoulders and let them fall again.
Come on. There is something. I want to show you.
They left the known corridors. Jalen led him past 2 intersections, then turned into an unmarked side tract.
Supply?
Officially. Unofficially, a place without lists.
The corridor behind the door was narrower. The light was softer. At the end, a room opened that Kaelen did not know. No tanks, no wings, no displays. Only a long, narrow pane, and behind it, nothing but mist. No system image. Real outside air. A view outward that was not allowed in most sections.
When I do not know how to breathe, I come here.
He said it, as if he had brought an excuse.
You cannot see far, but you see enough.
Kaelen stood beside him. The mist lay there, like something that wanted to be familiar, but was not.
How long have you known this place?
Long enough to show it to you.
They stood there, a few seconds or minutes. Time was a skin. That did not fit. At last, Jalen spoke.
When you were quiet earlier, after the thing with ARK-7, did you think she might be listening?
I always think someone is listening. That is not the problem.
And what is the problem?
That sometimes I listen when I should not.
That is better than the other way around.
A small tone vibrated in Kaelen's wristband, not the whistle. A precursor. Briefing, primary. Appointment set. Jalen looked at his own display, which gave the same tone, at the same moment.
There it is. Not red yet, but a color, very close to it.
On the way back, the habitat did not change, and yet it was different. Steps became faster. Voices became shorter. Doors closed with an intention they had not had before. In the primary briefing room, the light was brighter. On the wall, a schematic. Sector 5, overlaid current maps from the last 24 hours, red portions. Kaelen felt something inside him, a line itself, like magnetic wings in wind. The supervisor was there, 2 other pilots he knew, and a third, whose face was still only a set of features to him. No rank speech, no ceremony.
Short version. Sector 5 is pulling. The camps report unrest. We keep the edges clean. Until we know what is being pulled. Deployments in teams of 3. 472, with 581 and 390. Routes are in the system. Questions?
No one asked. Not because everything was clear, because clarity often began, only in the air.
Flexible.
He added the word almost casually, as if it had already been in the room, and only needed someone to touch it.
Alert level remains yellow, until further notice. If red, then not 2. 1.
Kaelen felt Jalen's gaze brush against him. He did not look back. He looked at the curve on the wall, moving like breath, and knew he would follow that breath. If he was called. After the briefing, he remained alone for a moment. At the door, there was a fine hum, as if someone had changed the frequency.
ARK-7, Kaelen.
The voice was not over a speaker, not through the helmet, inside him, or so close beside him, that it made no difference.
I hear you.
If the vortex grows tonight, it will want to keep something and return something.
What?
A possibility and a question.
Which question?
Whether you want to breathe. Where you do not want to breathe.
The connection did not break. It simply stopped, as if the sentence had been a door, and the door was closed, and he stood before it. Jalen waited in the corridor, as if he had heard nothing. Maybe he had. Maybe not.
Channel 2.
1, if it whistles.
They walked. The day was no longer what it had been, and the night approached. Like weather, the night inside the habitat was not darkness. It was a dimming, a transition from white operational light to a gray shimmer. That gave the corridors the feeling of half-sleep. Kaelen moved through the passage, hands loose, thoughts not. Above him, the supply rail hummed, as if holding a rhythm he did not know. In the briefing room, they were already waiting. Jalen leaned against the wall, arms crossed, his expression resting somewhere, between alertness and dry amusement. Beside him stood a third pilot. Kaelen had seen him only briefly. Narrow, upright. A kind of silence that said more than words usually did. Identifier 390. The supervisor entered. Without the door making a sound, her steps set the tone.
Red 07, active tomorrow.
No introduction, no question.
Sector 5 shows deviations. The currents are unstable. The camps report unrest.
Jalen looked at Kaelen. Only a brief flicker. Red did not mean observation, not routine. Red meant that someone or something was not where it should be.
Teams of 3, 472, with 581 and 390. Routes are in the system. Flexible.
The word remained in the air, a little longer than it should have. Not just an instruction, a test.
What are we hunting?
He said it too quietly, for it to be a real question, loud enough, for everyone who had ears. The supervisor looked at him. For one heartbeat, there was something like patience in her eyes.
You keep the edges clean. That is all you need to know.
Kaelen said nothing. He remembered the vortex, the way it had pulled the air inward, as if it wanted to keep something. Maybe it was not only air, maybe it was more. After the briefing, Kaelen and Jalen remained. 390 left, without turning back.
So, what do you think?
Jalen pushed himself away from the wall.
Why us? Coincidence? Or does someone want a story with us in it?
Kaelen looked at him.
You speak, as if we are being prepared.
Maybe we are. Maybe they want to see what happens when they put us in the same container.
This time, Jalen did not grin.
Or maybe they only need 3 people who do not ask too much.
They walked down the corridor. Everywhere, small signs of unrest, doors closing too early, voices ending. In half sentences, a patrol moving, with twice as many steps as usual.
Do you remember? The camps, the tanks, the beings inside them.
Kaelen nodded slowly. Images rose. Glass fogged from within. Bodies that were not quite bodies. Breaths shimmering inside fluid.
They take something from them. Maybe experience. Maybe more.
Maybe they give it back.
Jalen looked into the mist, beyond the viewing pane.
What if we are only the continuation, an experiment that keeps going?
Then we are containers too.
They fell silent, until the corridor split. A radio impulse flickered. Inside their earpieces, only a brief light, no voice yet. A test signal. Ready for call. Standby mode. Jalen lifted his hand to his ear, then let it fall again.
That was not a joke. Tomorrow could be serious.
It was always serious.
They separated, before the quarters. Kaelen entered his room and sat on the edge of the bed. In his field of vision, a circle appeared. Small, unassuming. A RK7.
Red 07 is not an assignment. It is a reflection.
Of what?
Of you.
Then the circle went dark. Kaelen sat there, hands folded into one another, and felt that the night did not ease. It grew denser.
Red 07 is not an assignment. It is a reflection.
To be continued. Next episode 3.